And welcome to this episode of Fantheon. Terrence is back from Wi-Fi Desert. And
Yes.
yeah, so Terrence, what are your picks of the week? We're actually, first I should introduce it. We're doing some, it's not really picks of the week, but we're just going to talk about some comics that we are either going to read and love, or think we're going to love, or I've already read and loved. So just like cool stuff you should read, pretty much. Pretty basic.
Yeah.
So Terrence, what are your kind of picks this week?
Deadly Class because this new arc has been insane. It's like Hunger Games and Battle Royale made a bloody little child. What
So
else? What else?
basically the
What else?
CBR reviewer application process, but assassins.
Yeah.
Oh
Yep.
man,
Black
I should not have
Canary.
said that.
hmm Yeah, definitely got to get Black Canary because this has been good
Oh yeah, that is out this week.
with the Emma certification of the So definitely that. Superman only because we're that much closer to issue 50 and everything will be back to normal.
Savage John
And
isn't half bad either.
it's
Kind
not
of.
now that I know what it's about, like Vandal Savage, actually the one behind it all. Now that I know, then now I'm okay with it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I dig him as a villain.
yeah,
Or
that
maybe
kind
not.
of
Yeah.
Legend of Tomorrow's helping it out.
Yeah. Cool.
And outside of that, we are Robin because my young ones and they're out of Robin War. It's kind of all right. The whole crossover. The ending was great, and then last Grayson because that book can do no wrong.
Cool. And then just like social media stuff, real quick.
Oh yeah, see, you threw me all off with this extended one. You can get at me on Twitter at Sage Terrence. And yeah, I got some reviews in the drafts for Pop Optic, so those will be out soon. And yeah, that's me.
Cool. Is someone's hamster in the background?
No,
That's
that's
not
that's a dog toy.
That's a dog toy. Okay. Just had to ask.
You went
I'm
loud.
Logan Dalton. You can find me at 60 Nerd on Twitter. Also, Graphic Policy and Pop Optic, and I started a Patreon this week. So if you like my comics writing, want me to do more, just throw in a couple bucks, and I'll give you a shout out on Twitter every week. Yeah, the link's under my Twitter profile. So yeah. Yeah. So this week I have the weirdest taste in comics. So I'm just gonna go all over. So I'm gonna start out with King Conan. I love me some Conan, especially Conan done by Timothy Truman and Tomas Giorello for Dark Horse Comics. Yeah, the story is really great because um, the art style reminds me a lot of just the classic like Frazetta and Windsor Smith's Conan stories. It's like very like perfect anatomy, kind of semi-painted, but like Giorello cuts up the panels so like the action's good, really violent and fun and epic. Yeah, and also I like the story a lot because it reminds me a lot of like the death of Robin Hood or like um, Odysseus' last journey. So it's like kind of Conan's like last quest. He's going to the Picts, who are these people who live on the border of his kingdom, and also there's kind of a connection with Atlantis and stuff, and hopefully they look into that more. So yeah, the first issue was better, but the second one had like more action and violence and stuff. So yeah, King Conan's a series I enjoy. Um, let's see. Looking forward to the Supergirl digital book. I haven't read that yet.
Oh yeah, I did read that. It was
Mostly because of
so
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, Bengal. Mostly Bengal's art and kind of stories they can tell. Because the TV show obviously is a limited budget, so they can tell some crazier stories. Yeah, Black Canary too. I'll definitely second Black Canary. Image wise, Saga. I mean, I think they're gonna look at the journalists this week. And I miss them.
Yeah,
And
I had to read
also,
that.
Image continues to throw out some excellent new series. I reviewed Cry Havoc earlier this week. It's about a lesbian werewolf who goes to war, but it's about so much more than that. It's about kind of she's not like no one in the book is really heroes, which is good, which is nice. And the character has like and there's like three different colorist styles, which is fun. Matt Wilson, Nick Filardi, and Lee Lowridge are on the colors, and it really gives it a nice. It's like a non-linear story, but has like some nice transitions. a la like early Tarantino, like Reservoir Dogs, kind of a little bit, like, and also like Godfather, like the good nonlinear stories, none of like just the annoying ones, like Bash Four, like Arrow. Arrow is not how you do a nonlinear story. That's like, yeah, no. But yeah, it's a war story. It talks about like black sites and torture, very real things. Well, actually, there's some really just intensely scary panels, and most of that's from the colors. Like just you're just like in London, and it's like kind of soft blues, and then Nick Filardi, who's actually like the colorist MVP of the book, just ratchets it up. And then I should probably say something Marvel this week. I'm gonna go with, I guess, and well, yeah, we're talking about Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, time travel fun. That book's a lot of fun. So yeah, those are my picks this week. Yeah.
And I'm Emma Hubat. I'm artist in residence at Comicosity. No, I'm a staff writer at Comicosity, and will probably be appearing some other places again soon. Because you know me, got that wanderlust going on 24/7.
Like Aslan from Narnia.
You can Narnia. You can find me on Twitter at YMMAHOUXBOIS. And I got a long list this week. I'm just gonna basically rattle them off and say one or two things about a couple of them because again, it's a big list. But big week for like sort of anthology type stuff because you've got Island, the latest issue of Island, and the Vertigo SFX quarterly out. Which both are fantastic. I've only paged through Island so far, but you know, it's a different one for sure. Because you've got both the Trash Twins, Katie Skelly and Sarah Horrocks in it. You've got Onta, he's definitely very different, even for Island. You know, in terms of bringing the furry comic vibe to it. So I don't know if that's too much my flavor, but you know that's the thing about Island is you pick it up to see some stuff that you would not see ordinarily. And the Vertigo SFX one I have actually taken a bit of a deeper look at, and it's a really, really cool one. My favorite of the lot is the Nathan Fox Lee Lowridge one, I guess obviously, but gorgeous colors, gorgeous stuff going on here. But you've also got Jordi Belair's first writing credit. She actually wrote and colored the story with, you guessed it, Declan Shalvey. But no, it's exactly what you'd expect. If I was Warren Ellis, I'd be a little bit afraid because she might have proved that he's kind of irrelevant to their collaborations now. That's a joke, but it's a cool story. But you've also got Christian Ward, who also just released his first art book ever. Has one that he wrote and drew himself. So kind of for artists actually getting it for themselves that haven't done too much writing that we've seen in the mainstream or haven't done any at all. This is a really cool one. But there's also a couple really nifty queer inclusive stories, like Howard Chaykin's got one with Jed Doherty that's actually pretty interesting. And like Jed Doherty's art, like at first I thought Chaykin drew it himself, and I had to page back to see because he has a very similar style in this one to what Chaykin typically does on his own. But it's a really cool kind of a flashback to the Greaser era. Turning into more kind of like the Beatles sort of style. It's I don't want to give too much away, but it's a nifty one.
Oh yeah, I love period pieces.
And that one deals to a certain degree with some queer stuff, and that's really good. What was maybe one other one that I wanted to point out?
Does it cross over with the movie Carol?
It does not.
50s.
I think that's all the ones I'm going to focus on for now. But again, it's a really solid one. Lots of great stories in a huge range of genres. Because the whole thing is that like all you have to do is incorporate that one sound effect, the bang, in there, and it could go anywhere you want to.
That's awesome.
And actually, sorry, the Jonathan Case and Layla Del Duca. There you go. That's the other one I want to point out. And guess who colored that one? Jordi Belair. So she's got her prints all over this issue.
Oh my gosh, I gotta read this like now.
But, yeah, I got the blue one of the quarterly, or whichever one. I forget which one. But I think mine was the sound effects.
Yeah, they're all sound effects, different sound effects each quarter. This is the red one. This is Bang. But no, there's an orangutan with a gun in that one. So, I mean, I don't know, Jonathan Case, Lola Del Duca, Jordi Belair, and an orangutan with a gun. I mean, do you, like, what more do you need, honestly? Black Canary and Last Band in Town, 100%. Canary, of course, if you read my review this morning, has the dedication to David Bowie in it. Last Band in Town, which is
Gang in Town.
Last Gang, sorry, in Town.
Is that a good book?
Yeah, it's well. I mean, I don't know. Do you like Rufus Dayglow?
Like what?
Rufus Dayglow. That's the artist.
No idea who that is.
You know of him? Okay. He's got like when I first saw him on the scene, he was doing that Tank Girl book. I can't remember who with, but when he wants to, he can do like a perfect riff on Jamie Hewlett. But he certainly has his own identity as an artist. But the fun thing about this title is that it does involve a punk band as well in the late 70s England. But it's really getting back to that old school kind of Vertigo because he has a style and he's very versatile within the book because it takes place between 1977 and 2018, I think it is, off the top of my head. But my headphones aren't long enough to reach over to the issue right now. But but he's switched up his style there, and then also within it. So you kind of get this idea of him. He kind of moves between sort of like Philip Bond to like Sergio Aragonés and a little bit of Hewlett, but he has a very strong base sense of who he is, but he can range around there based on the story. But it's really cool because it takes place in, like I said, the main story is 1977 in England, so it kind of gets back to a lot of that early Vertigo stuff that was kind of almost very insularly English. So like the Peter Milligan stuff, like Girl, Jamie Hewlett's, not Jamie Hewlett, Jesus.
Hellblazer.
Jamie Delano's, yeah, Hellblazer.
Oh, you know, I might have to check this out. I think you've sold me on the book, at least.
Yeah, because the first 2 pages are a really, really lacerating look on England and the decline from empire into what Napoleon called.
I love that. That is speaking of the Anglophile right now. Okay, yes. I'm going to check this book out. You sold me.
So Vertigo is getting a lot more boutique-y now, where they should be. And like Last Gang in Town is not a book that's ever going to sell more than, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9,000 because of what it is. But it's a point to have a book like that to connect to that kind of style of Vertigo book, the same way that we have Clean Room, with Gail Simone going in that kind of effigy, the Invisibles, sort of. Yeah, there's nice range. It's Vertigo, I think, is really picking up steam again. Please relaunch.
Lucifer to get some eyes off the TV show and into the comics.
Exactly.
I don't know what. I don't think we're supposed to mention that TV show.
What TV show?
Never mind.
That was a joke. I know what TV show. But Angela, obviously. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is my other Marvel pick.
Yeah,
I've been caught up
for graphic policy. So
yeah,
it's been a ton of fun.
But I mean, art-wise, it's a great team, top to bottom. I'm sure gonna love it. But like people were saying on Twitter, when are we gonna get the Ms. Marvel Devil Dinosaur crossover? Because like I need to see like the girls like chilling is cool too, but very cool. But Lockjaw and the dinosaur chilling, like come on. But the Curb Stomp trade paperback is out, so I wanna pick that up. I haven't gotten a chance to take a look at it, but I really want to see what it's all about. Ringside continues to build, is great. We get a lot more backstage wrestling stuff. I already threw up my review to it. I really like what they're doing with that comic. If you're reading Southern Bastards.
Southern Bastards is out this week too.
It is, which I'm not reading, but I would like to. I'll get to one of these days. But
I think like Ringside is to Southern Bastards is to football as Ringside is to wrestling.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yes, and that's the thing where you don't have to give a shit about football to enjoy. You can get into Southern Bastards.
Thank God.
It's just it's a good Southern fried crime story. It's like really just kind of great, and I can't believe the same guy who draws it writes Spider-Gwen.
I can believe that pretty easily, especially the George Stacy stuff. But that's his name, right? Is it George Stacy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's Ben Stacy in the Ultimate Universe for some reason. Ben Dist.
But Ben Dist. But yeah, Ringside, it's like if it's another one of these kind of sort of blue collar type crime stories. I think the thing about Southern Bastards and Ringside is that years ago that stupid DC thing that they had Vertigo is the HBO of comics, that whole thing. Well, this is Ringside and Southern Bastards are more of like the FX side of things.
FX, yeah.
They kind of those grinding blue collar stories like
Justified.
Justified. I don't watch that, but yeah.
I've seen a
Sons
few
of
episodes with
Anarchy.
my uncle. I probably watch it one day.
Yeah, Sons of Anarchy, The Americans, that kind of stuff. Lights Out, which only ran for one season, was a great show. But that kind of stuff, that's that kind of mode that we're getting into storytelling that kind of goes beyond those same types of groups and elites and stories that we see in comics typically to just capture these blue-collar experiences that are still very captivating and phenomenal. And I'm glad for that level of diversity coming out of Image. Like those two work together the same way that something like Howard the Duck and Squirrel Girl and Hellcat work together in their own little Will Moss side of Marvel.
Technically Star Brand too, because Squirrel Girl goes to the same school.
Gem, obviously. Monstrous, again, obviously. Haven't checked that out. Prophet Earth War #1 is out, and I got it. I still have to catch up on Prophet.
Yeah, I would have thought about checking up, and it's like, oh, final episode. Like, okay, I guess I have to actually read this here for it.
I think I'm only one volume behind, but Sarah Horrocks is in this one too, if I recall correctly. So she's big week for Trash Twins. And then Negative Space from Dark Horse #3 is finally out, and it's again still a great story. I think it's going to do Gonzo in trade because I think there's maybe one issue left, but awesome story. This one is really intense because Guy starts talking about his dad's suicide and whatnot, but and how that has impacted his own suicidal thoughts that kick the whole story off. But incredible work from those two on that title from them. So that's my week.
Yay, we read every comic on the stands pretty much.
Oh, there's so many we didn't even touch, but I'm just looking at the Image list.
Pretty much.
I mean, God, there's like we didn't even. That's the thing about the depth. We didn't even get to like Mark Millar and Greg Rucka have stuff out. Rucka has like 2 titles out this week. I think we didn't talk about either one.
Oh,
yeah. So
I know Black Magic's conspiracy is just getting deeper.
Yeah, I want to pick that up. But I mean, even like there's an Odyssey issue out. There's so much stuff, and we didn't even get to that.
This is like
how deep this week is.
For Image, definitely.
Yeah, it's a big week for everyone except Marvel, I think. I mean, Marvel's got good stuff out this week, but like everyone's like bringing it this week.
Yeah, Marvel doesn't have a Star Wars book out this week.
Good. Then Marvel really is bringing it this week.
I think maybe Obi-Wan and Anakin's out this week, but that book sucks.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, a book that doesn't suck, at least for me, is Gem and the Holograms #11, written by Kelly Thompson, art by Sophie Campbell, colors by M. Victoria Roboto. So yeah, Terrence, what did you dislike about this book? Let's
just get it out of the way. This is how we do this first.
I really just like hear your completely honest thoughts about this book.
It's not even bad. It's just so bright and happy and withdrawn. But I did like the little dark. What do you know? Yeah, the creepy dark one that was like stalking whoever the girl was.
I don't even know the character's name.
I can't even remember their name. Oh my god! I just read this too.
I mean, the bartender, like.
No, like it was like a creepy version of Jim, I guess.
Oh, Synergy. She's infected by a virus when she like it gets Jericho to listen to that thing and then she gets the haircut and shit.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Okay.
And then I like that some of the band members were trying to get like little relationships going. That was kind of cute at the pool side. That was kind of cute. And then the ending where like it looks like they all saw the virus chick. So that should be something for next month.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely set up plot-wise, but I don't read Jim and the Holograms for plot at all. I read Jim the Holograms for the beautiful art of Sophie Campbell and her just hairstyles, fashions, facial expressions, just
Yeah, I'm
the
all
fun
that, all of it.
in the air. Okay, I was a little until I had this great writer, Erin. She's like a Jim the Holograms encyclopedia. And I had no idea who the kids were at the beginning of the issue. They're supposedly this like kid band that called the Starlight Kids, the Holograms mentor.
Oh, they're like orphans from the
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
I
yeah,
had no
yeah.
idea who they were. Thank you, Aaron. I don't know if you're probably not even watching this, but like your review helped me a lot because it was just like okay, they're like helping kids with the band. I guess they have cool hair too, and I guess it kind of seemed tacked on though. I'm just gonna say, but the pool party was so much fun. I love it when Jim gets all romantic and stuff, like
This
like when Aja gets thrown in the pool. And
if
Kimber's all sad. Kimber's like awesome swimsuit.
this
I don't know. I just like this. This book is just so pretty.
this is where we part ways on this issue because I didn't realize who the Starlight Kids were at first because I only watched like 3 episodes of the
I haven't
cartoon.
still haven't seen a single episode.
But I mean, everything I needed to know about the comic was in the first 3 because actually the first 3 episodes of Gem they're pretty dense. They kind of tell you everything you need to know about
Okay,
the basics.
good to
Uh,
know.
so I mean, they're not hard to follow, but you feel like you get the whole setup, you get everything you need. So I haven't really been going back. I'd like to eventually, but I mean, part of it is just that I don't want to go back to the old designs. I just really like the new ones so much better.
Plus,
And
there's no
I
Kimber Stormer in the old show.
Well, my understanding is that it's what's the word? That it was very subtextual. Like so
Yeah,
what they
I'm cool with that. I mean, it's a kids show. I mean,
so I mean I don't want to do apples and oranges too much, but my understanding of the whole situation is that what Thompson did with Kimber Stormer is effectively the same thing that Palmiani and Connor did with Harley and Ivy. You know that
ooh,
this was something that was in the air that was closely followed by the fan base for a very long time. That was very desired by the fan base, and so she made this happen out of something um, that there was desire for sure, if I am understanding correctly. But
also,
that's
speaking of that, like the whole thing with Aja dating Stormer's brother, did they not know that at
see
all?
that well
That
see
felt like a little bit of just like a hiccup.
Yeah, I want to get to that, but one of the things I find that's so funny is that I constantly forget that you don't have any engagement with the cartoon forever, or sorry, at all, because of how like of a gigantic Kimber fan you are. So I'm always thinking, yeah, okay, Logan came into this being Kimber. No, 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 and I always have to remind myself, no, this is just completely 100% based on the comic, and
Pretty much.
so I want to refresh the same thing when it comes to me and Pizzazz and what a gigantic fan of her I
Oh,
am. It's
Pizzazz was
purely
slaying.
100% based on this comic. Um,
She
you
has
know,
great. She has some great lines this issue.
she does.
Her onesie, yeah.
Yeah, her Kigurumi for sure.
I feel so
Uh,
bad for her because, but yeah, but like the whole audition scene, that was just like Roboto showing off her color skills, pretty much.
well, it's all leading to stuff, right? And the funny thing is that I like the stuff with the Starlight Kids better than I did the pool party because, like, this is our second pool party in 3 issues, and it kind of feels like there's filler. The story to me is too decompressed. I mean, there's plot elements that could get forwarded, like advancing the relationship between Shanna and the bartender, um, and revealing the brother like those things work, but to me, it's just a lot of it was taking up too many pages to kind of, not have much to fill out because we've like the major implications of the Dark Gem arc have been teased for 3 or 4 issues in the comic for now, and have been going for even further back than that when it comes to social media and stuff. So this has really been a long burn to get to this.
Yeah, I mean,
So
Sophie Campbell's art. I think most of this issue was just me like freaking like geeking out all over Sophie Campbell's return.
Yeah, but I kind of felt like the plot was spinning its wheels waiting for her to come back. Like there wasn't a B-side plot to really
I
engage.
mean, we did get Eric, and we get some hacking stuff, but that, yeah.
Yeah, but there's like bits and pieces get added in. Tech Rat shows up, blah blah blah, the car accident. But to me, other than the Rio issue, it was just kind of like, well, we can't go too far forward because we don't want to do any of the really cool stuff until Sophie gets back. Is kind of, but there are also no clear demarcations of arcs. So we're kind of, I guess, we're into the second arc of the series
Well,
now.
it's like the third arc, technically.
I don't really know where the first one ended then. I guess after the first three issues, but there's not really kind of a sense of like boom, like we're really getting a sense of I want to see what happens next now because we've reached the point where the viral infection is here and Blaze is finally going to audition. And next cover we've got her, it's the Blaze cover. And so all the stuff that we've been seeing teased for so long is coming into play, but it's just kind of I mean, all the ingredients are there, but they're just getting stretched out too much, in my opinion. And I don't know, the Shanna stuff, it's cute, but I kind of feel like that dialogue is the exact same stuff that we saw in the exact same tone that we saw with Rio and Jerica in like the first two issues.
Oh, that's why I like Kimber Stormer always.
Yeah, Kimber Stormer have a much stronger sense, and Craig and Aja too. Like they're their own thing, and they have their own identity. I think Shauna kind of is getting the shaft character-wise there, but Shauna,
Yeah. She just
I
reminds me
don't.
of, like, every, like, freaking TV show I watch, like, female characters, like, they just get stuck with terrible love interests. Like, I'm watching freaking Veronica Mars, and all her love interests suck. But,
But I mean, Shauna again is a character, if I understand correctly, that never really got explored much at all. And it's not like Kelly Thompson doesn't have good ideas for Shauna or how to fill her out. Like it was Jen Bartel that did hers in the like the whole '80s movie montage, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's great, and you got to really you got your first strong sense of who she is. So there's ideas there. I just think there's kind of some fallback positions being exercised that don't need to be. But one thing I think I'm really looking forward to is that as Thompson does more Marvel work, like she gets more going on A Force, and is there another title she's doing?
Probably. I mean,
But because she co-did the Captain Marvel Secret
yeah,
Wars
Hero
with
Core, but I never
DeConnick, right?
played.
Yeah, I mean, I think getting some more structure because Marvel, I'm sure, is going to be like, this is a 5-issue arc. We have to write for trade. It will kind of structure things better, and I think that's some experience that she needs to kind of more tightly structure an arc and kind of get over those humps. But I mean, you can do a 10-issue arc, obviously. Super Heavy is doing it, but you kind of have to set the stakes and know how to go up and down and kind of pace it out. And I mean, it's a year now, and we're getting into the first big event and the first really kind of this is fully our own idea story. So I think we're going to turn the page heading into year two for Gem. But the thing is, I'm critical of the title, but I'm critical of the title because I want to see
Yeah.
Kelly Thompson grow into the writer that I know that she is, because she has shown so much promise. I was not a fan of Heart in a Box either, and I know I'm the only person who wasn't. Um, but but again, like all the fundamentals are there. It just needs honing. So I mean, and again, like she's gonna be doing A Force with Ben Caldwell. I mean, Jesus, have you
Oh,
seen the art?
credits.
Have you seen like the group shot of them?
No.
It's amazing. Like he's like his She-Hulk. Thank God that he's drawing She-Hulk the same way that Joe Quinones does, that Brittany Williams does. We're back into like what Allred and Quinones were pioneering back on FF, the bigger, more muscular frame She-Hulk that works. And there's such a range of body types within this one splash image because you've got Dazzler, who basically just looks like Prez, which fine, she should. What is her name in Prez? Is it Beth? The corn dog girl.
I don't even remember.
Anyway, she
I
looks
tried.
like her. But then you've got the Captain Universe or whatever her name is. That one in there. It's
Her name's Synergy,
what?
isn't it?
No way. There can't be two synergies. That would be too funny.
No way.
Um,
No, I think it's her name.
But the Captain Universe looking chick,
She gets
um,
synergy. Terrence?
that's hilarious. I guess now we know where they put put her on A-Force.
Wait, the Captain Universe and Avengers that we just saw in Hickman's
No,
run?
no, the one in A-Force.
Oh,
Like
that's
that starry
Singularity.
girl. Singularity,
Singularity.
there you go. That makes more sense. Yeah, I was like, there's no way in hell. But yeah, her, it all looks gorgeous. So, I mean, and that's the thing is because an important thing to remember about Kelly Thompson is that she's not Jeff Loeb, where they just put a hack writer with a bunch of amazing artists and then you buy the books. Because like, was Hush actually a good story? No. Where it was like the Long Halloween actually a good story? Kind of, right? But
Yeah,
you
well,
know,
and Tim Sale, like, when definitely works with Tim Sale, Sale has more input in the plotting and stuff.
right. But an important thing to think about with Thompson is that she knows how to enable um, not really even getting out of the way, like how Gillen and Fraction say it, but she knows how to do stuff that plays to um, Sophie Campbell's strengths and bring stuff out, like those outbursts with pizzazz and all that kind of stuff. She knows how to put those elements in. And I mean, I've heard some great stories. Apparently, what she does for some of her collaborators, I don't know if she does this with Sophie, but some of the other artists on Gem, she'll send them GIF images of like a facial expression or something, and be like, "This is what I want for this page in this panel," and then so they can bring that out and build from it. So she's a very visually minded writer, and that comes out, especially now that we've seen so many different artists across Gem. That's one thing that you really know, that she knows how to uplift the artist and get the visual style across. And there are some deep cuts in terms of like the Easter eggs. Like you're talking about the Starlight Kids in the Rio issue when he kicked that fern. That's actually from an episode of the comic. And the breakfast cereal that gosh, what is her name? With the white hair in the Misfits.
Um, no, not Jetta. Roxy? Roxy.
Uh, yeah. The breakfast cereal that she's eating in there actually came from Sophie looking up like a panel of one of the characters like shopping for breakfast cereal in the cartoon.
Oh my
So
god.
they go nuts. They go nuts on this, and it's stuff that I wouldn't pick up, you wouldn't pick up, but only like the deep hardcore Gem fans do. So yeah, quality all around. But I think the Dark Gem arc is really going to light it up. And holy crap, the covers! I mean, you know they go nuts for the variant covers on this series, and I love that fact. But you've got the four or whatever main ones that are all the Dark Gem versions of each one of the major characters. And then you've got a Jen Bartel one to go along with it. And I think there's maybe one other exclusive. There is another one. I can't remember who did it. So there's, yeah. But I think nothing but blue skies ahead.
Cool. Um, Cyborg came out this week as well. Had a new creative team. It's gonna.
Again, because they can't make up their minds.
Yeah. So yeah, David Walker's still writing, doing a solid job. Sorry, I have to. The art is by this guy I'd never heard before. His name is like Cloud
Saint, I think it's like Claude Saint.
Saint Albin. And the colors were Adriano Lucas. It's like a DC colors, and the inks were by Andy Owens. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like I've seen this story before. I feel like I'm gonna see this story this summer. Like the
Are you making an Ex Machina joke?
Civil War.
Oh, so what?
Like the plot of Cyborg.
Yeah, how so though?
Because the whole like government wanting to cut down
Get
on,
technology they don't understand after something bad happens.
and then this big iconic hero stands kind of case.
But that kind of is what the government does when those things happen in real life.
Yeah. I just
You know, and that to me, why to me like patterns, like I said in my Black Canary stuff, you know, patterns work. You know, or kind of grand ideas or setups that we've seen elsewhere, maybe even iconic situations before work, as long as you're able to bring it to your specific audience in a new way. Um, and I think Cyborg did it in a really chilling way, this issue, because like basically if I remember correctly, the last bit of dialogue at the end of the issue is that like that senator telling Vic's dad,
Silas.
yeah, he tells Vic's dad like your son is the property of the U.S. government, and it's just like
And he either will come quietly, like the rest of them, or he'll be a terroristic threat against America. So
yeah,
make up your mind.
I
you
really like
know,
that his mom showed up in this issue. It was so sad and kind of horrifying. And it was
Yeah, I
horrifying
thought
if
like
you
the
just
cover was gonna be like something completely like scary, and it was gonna ruin it. But it was actually kind of it's like nice because he gets closure with his mom, so to speak.
yeah, and he has someone he can actually like bounce off like in an open way. He can just talk about has someone to unload all of his
Other
experience.
than Smokey,
Well, pets are the best, except for that the whatever the dog with the toy earlier in the podcast. Yeah, but the thing is the art, except for okay, there's some like nice visual flair with his mom's movements, but it was really kind of DC House style.
like it was like
um,
staticky and but like 'cause it was a lot since this was like a dialogue heavy issue and didn't get any action, so it had to be more emotional to get the stuff across.
I think this was less DC House style than the previous artist on this. I thought it was a lot cleaner.
Well, at least it was one artist versus like hundreds recently.
Yeah, it was a lot cleaner to me, and Vic looked a lot younger, and probably about the age that we should be seeing him at. I mean, I don't really know what the whole deal is, how old they want him to be in the New 52, but for this story to make sense to me, I don't think I want him older than 20. I think I want him to be about 18, 19, and that's what he looked like to me this issue. And
Well,
that,
let's see, he should be like 23 because he was like or 22 because like my age, because at if you're doing the timeline, Justice League #1 is 5 years ago. I don't know, and that was when he was like 17 or 18 playing football.
okay,
Then yeah, so he's like in his
okay.
so yeah, I mean he does like he's like early 20s, which is cool. And
Yeah,
yeah,
but I think kind of psychologically he still is going to be somewhere around 18, 19 though, because his like all of his kind of I guess progression or whatnot has been put on hold. Like his mom's like, you have a girlfriend, you're going to college, you finish high school, and he's like, no. Instead of like all of that, I mean, basically the way to me you got to read Cyborg psychologically in the New 52 is that this is a kid who got picked up out of his normal life and then was deployed to war effectively, basically. Like this like to me, I would think of him psychologically as being those kids that went to Vietnam at like 18, or these kids that are signing
and
up
it's
and
even
going
worse.
up.
It's like it's just crazy that like he got hacked by GLAAD and he's like never sleeps and
Yeah, like
Yeah,
in Justice League, it's like really, it was a really sad like early on because him and Flash were talking because since Hal Jordan left, Flash needed someone to talk to, and he was talking to Victor, and he was like, Flash, I don't sleep, I really don't need to eat, and I'm just up here monitoring everything. Like I cannot not see what's happening on the internet. Like it's just really, it was really
and then the Throne of Atlantis
bad.
was big for him because he had to donate some of his I forget I forget the plot point, but he had to have more machine parts, I guess.
Yeah, he had to upgrade. Like they upgraded him and downgraded him throughout Justice League because in Justice League, like when he first started, he was like a tank, and then when did he like around? I'd
Throne of Atlantis.
say yeah, Throne of Atlantis and Forever Evil. He had to he got slowly but surely more bunkered down and more humanized. And then like now he can really shift into like what he used to look like.
But is he more human than human?
Yeah, they're like that is he the
thank
Part
you,
of
Rob
man.
Zombie.
I do
yeah, I
like the
really
theme of man and machine. Like, am I still human, or is it just like an upgrade of my system, and I don't even know what's really going on with me.
Yeah, I mean, it has that kind of classic actual cyborg genre story going on with the kind of government superhero thing. So and then also we get to like, yeah, then we like a long time ago we said that like we said that like Cyborg was like the elevator operator of the Justice League. Sadly.
Well, now at least we haven't even seen him, so they're definitely trying to make him do his own thing.
Yeah, we get to see like in his head and like his mom. Yeah, showing his mom was great and how his mom kind of like is nurturing and actually like cared about him more than like his dad. I think his dad definitely cares about him, but his dad's like Mr. Science and.
Yeah, like in the first arc, he definitely was like, okay, you need to sit down because you just came back from the dead, and we need to figure out what just happened. And I just see the piece of machinery. I don't see the football star I had of a son anymore.
So yeah, like him going into him on the run is gonna be fun because he like the thing is he's so jacked into technology. It's gonna be hard for him to stay at the grid.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's also technology shortcuts to that, but I think it's interesting with his mom that basically like what's going on with her is the same thing as in Batgirl, with the with the brain map of Babs that went bonkers, the first big villain there. But I think the key thing to me is that like David Walker is going there, like you have this young adult teenager, whatever, black kid being told he's the property of the government. I mean, that's where this is going. Like that's what Walker is doing, and that's why I think like I mean the first arc kind of didn't land so well. Like I get the whole invasion thing and how it worked and what the setup for this is, but it kind of didn't come across that great. But that's fine. But moving into this arc, he's going.
Yeah, I think like issue 6 really helped it out. Like him becoming more human. Like, oh my God, I can get some humanity back a little bit more. And now, like the ramifications of like, I didn't think we'd see Sebastian and like the people that got illegal technology again. So that like helps it out with like the supporting cast and what the government's gonna do to Detroit.
But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't sleep on this book at all now, especially now that it seems to really, really be finding its footing. Like anyone who's still hanging on to wait in April for what Ta-Nehisi Coates is going to do and what he's going to bring for a political context to Black Panther.
Oh, that's going to be a masterpiece.
It is, but I think that Walker is going to drive on something here too. That's going to be a bit less boutiquey. It's going to be more ground level, but it's going to be something that is going to. I think the irony here of this is that what Walker is going to end up pulling off here is going to be a lot more like Between the World and Me than is that the name of the book that he wrote for his son, that Coates did?
Oh wait, because I have that actually right here because my dad bought it for me.
Aww.
Yeah.
I need to read that book.
Yeah, between the World and Me.
I think that Cyborg is really going to be riffing a lot more on those points than Black Panthers, obviously because T'Challa is a grown-ass man and he's a king and shit. But at the same time, I think that's going to be really interesting to see. And I would say that we should keep our eyes locked on what Cyborg's doing because in terms of being more engaged with stuff that's going to get closer to Black Lives Matter and stuff like that, we're going to be seeing it in Cyborg. I'm stoked for it. Because that last line, I was like, that's intense and that's harsh and that's Walker doing it. We have a black writer.
It's not like the government
doing
it. But he's like, yeah. I don't really want to say, yeah.
The implications remain the same, and I think that's really what he wants to go with on this, and I'm glad. Like this is a pretty brave era for DC storytelling, I think.
Yeah, it reminds me of a little bit. I don't know I hope this isn't
Rebirth.
Summer. But it reminds me of in the I want to say like the 1940s and 50s that United States ran like tests on African American, like Henrietta Lacks ran tests on African Americans for vaccines and stuff without their consent, really, or they would like twist the language, and kind of reminds me of that a little bit, but more kind kind of sci-fi superhero trappings.
I honestly believe that's what he's doing here, because of course, I mean, that's what Elijah Bradley's origin was more literally that, was
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
that.
I mean,
But I mean, to this one, I mean, obviously there's a more clearly altruistic method in terms of how Cyborg became Cyborg. It was about his parents trying to save his life, but now you see that the consequence of his father working within this system. That now that the government is saying that his son is their property because what he did to save his kid's life. So hopefully we're going to see more of Silas too, and get that side of it, and get him being like, these are the unintended consequences of me saving my son's life, that now the government is claiming his property. Like, that's nuts. And I really want to see this come to the forefront. I think this is going to be really cool, vital storytelling.
yeah, and hopefully the visuals can stay consistent.
Yeah.
Miss Ivan Reyes, obviously, but but I think St. Albin did a solid job.
I like him for this issue. I think he was what the book
Yeah,
needed
they
for an
all
issue like
like
this.
fit the past issues.
Mm.
As long as they keep that grounded, like sci-fi, realistic looking tone for it, then they'll be good.
Yeah, I mean the tech looks cool with it, side of creepy, and like Lucas does a nice job kind of phasing in, using kind of a different, like almost ghostly color palette for the holographic projections and stuff, which is always nice. Yeah, I mean it's a solid DC book and definitely has tons of potential and could be their best. Hopefully, Rebirth doesn't interfere with it, which I don't think it will, because I mean
We don't
DC
even
has
know what
big plans for him.
is, you know.
Movies.
I don't think Rebirth is going to be some big reset to the pre-New 52. I think that's a little bit whack. If any, like, it's probably going to follow up on the implications of Convergence, were that everything counts now, that the old continuity is out there somewhere. It's not dead, it just hasn't been tapped into.
Because Green Lantern's doing it, Superman's doing it.
Yeah, we've started to see this stuff filter in. So it was the soft hit was Convergence, the hard hit will be Rebirth. But I don't, I don't know. I don't see it, because like destroying stuff like the Batgirl Burnside and whatever they're doing in Batman and Robin Eternal right now, that doesn't make sense. That's too short-sighted.
And Batgirl's pretty decent sales, I think.
Yeah, it does. Harley Quinn, obviously, which is a juggernaut.
Oh, they're not going to change. I think
they can't be messing with Harley Quinn. They can't afford to.
And Bluebird. I just need Bluebird to stick around forever and ever because I love Harper Row.
Yeah.
And Birds of Prey, slowly but surely.
Yeah, I'm just gonna wait and see until they actually announce some books and creative team.
Yeah.
Like, because people were complaining about DCU, and we like it changed this like Marvel Zombie to switch allegiances. I mean, part of that was also Marvel shooting itself in the foot repeatedly. Which is a good
events.
Yeah,
they will not stop.
Events, hip hop covers, and which one is a nice segue. Is the lack of queer characters in lead roles.
Well, I do want to hit one point about Rebirth before we transition. It's just that Secret Wars has had a massively bad effect on Marvel sales, because you look at the analysis on the beat, and they were tracking each volume each time the book gets reset, and there's a jump for your initial 1 or 2 issues, and then the fallback when it settles lower than it did before. So
Except
what they're seeing is that, well, Star Wars isn't hit by that. They're not renumbering Star Wars, right? My point is that everything that got renumbered,
their golden calf right now,
settles lower. So there is a reboot shock going in. There is like a toxic shock syndrome going on with Marvel sales, that they're getting turfed. I mean, people have like comic book storytellers have complained that people never came back after the 2-month gap that Batgirl had because of Convergence, which to me is a little bit janky, but okay. But how many people were like, what the fuck do I do, that came in and were picking up stuff like Silk and Squirrel Girl and Ms. Marvel through Secret Wars, And
they just change the status quo so crazily, like.
Yeah, and you're seeing it, in the sales.
Nothing will ever be the same.
I mean, at least Ms. Marvel and Squirrel Girl came back with some just awesome storylines.
Yeah, but Squirrel Girl and Ms. Marvel started off at such big numbers and so many reprints that they can, they're somewhat immune to that, whereas a lot
And
of
like
other
Spider-Gwen,
smaller
like how does
titles aren't.
Spider-Gwen even fit? Spider-Gwen's still awkward.
Oh, and that's the thing. Spider-Gwen is bleeding. Like it's like there's an arterial friggin', you
I
know.
mean, I think in the future, like a few years from now, it's just gonna be like the cool costume. It's gonna be like the cool black costume, the cool Iron Spider costume. Like,
It's like I said when I wrote that thing a few months ago in the middle of Secret Wars. I was saying that this reminds me way too much of Orania, and what happened with what is her real or her civilian name? Anya Corazon, right? And with Anya,
they
like
just
you look
added
at,
Corazon with a more cosplayable outfit.
well, I mean, so they're two different characters, but the cycle that they're going through right now, I think, is they haven't learned much from what happened to Anya. But I don't know. Let's greener pastures. Let's chat, Angela.
Angela, one of Marvel's like finest right now. And we got Angela, Queen of Hell, number 4.
Mhm.
The GLAAD Award nominated, and it is written by Marguerite Bennett, art by Kim Jacinto, colors by Israel Silva, and a very beautiful sub story, kind of flashback into what could have been between Sarah and Angela from Stephanie Hans, who's like one of my favorite artists ever. Yeah, I wish she could do a whole issue by herself. Maybe like the final issue, kind of like with Journey into Mystery. Like Hans drew the entire.
Man, I don't want to think about final, but
I'm just I'm just making a little parallel, I guess. So yeah, well, I can. Do you want to talk about GLAAD Awards after or before?
no. Let's hit this issue first. It deserves to be talked about. And one of the things I want to point out when we talk about the GLAAD Awards is that this nomination should be about Bennett and Jacinto and Hans, and I mean to a larger extent Gillen and oh God, why am I blanking on his name? He's super famous. The other original artist on the title.
Couple of minutes.
Jimenez, yeah. It should be about the team, and the story that they've made, but the politics and Marvel's handling of it are others. So, with that said, I think let's celebrate the book as is now, and then we'll get into the GLAAD stuff.
Cool. Yeah, I really like this issue because I think I think in this list it said like the toy box turns over. Like there's just a rich over the years of like people like Kieran Gillen and I guess Jason Aaron and Matt Fraction have just created some fun, very fun Asgardian toys to play with, and Marguerite Bennett has crafted this great relationship between Angela and Sarah, and just throw them into this amazing like place. And yeah, and this issue is like freaking hilarious too. Like King Boar's like comments.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm up and down on it because I mean I felt a little bit of I don't know what the word is, a little bit of dissonance with the direction that the dialogue has been going in Queen of Hell, because prior to this they kind of stuck to that sort of typical Marvel way of writing the Asgardians. Of being, I don't want to say like Shakespeare, but because obviously Witch Hunter
Shakespeare
Angela
was more like
was
fun
literally
wordplay, I guess.
Yeah.
Like what Shakespeare did, but like some of those like you want to kick it old school, like they could not handle like Stan Lee should never try to write an Asgardian dialect.
yeah.
I like that Sarah knows like modern day references. Like in the past issues, like it's been longer than Frank Ocean's album coming out.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm trying to adapt to that stuff being in this title, and it's not that it isn't funny, but it's just it's still a little bit jarring to me because they don't really have the context of it because they're not in Midgard at all.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I mean, I don't.
So
It might have worked better for Journey into Mystery because Loki spent some time in Earth.
Yeah.
And because like I really love the like Gillen would just like slay with like a spot on pop culture reference like from Loki or Leia in Journey into Mystery that would just like be hilarious.
Yeah, I mean it's funny.
I mean,
it works.
I guess
I just haven't balanced
she spent time with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Star Lord likes his movies and music and stuff. So I mean,
yeah, it's just kind of
stuck in a
it's just kind of really come into it this arc, though. I mean, obviously it wasn't going to happen during Secret Wars, but it's sort of kind of come out full force, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is where we're at now. But no, it's cool. I mean, it does, and one of the things I said before we hit the air was that it reminds me a bit of what Jason Aaron is doing. But of course, obviously, they're engaging with Midgard a lot more in Thor than they are in Angela. But you do kind of get that because they had those Gamergate jokes. Or sorry, no, that was what's his name on Loki, Agent of Asgard, who was doing that.
Oh, Ewing.
Yeah, it was Alan Ewing who was doing that. But there's a bit of that with Jason Aaron. They had that other sort of stuff going on. So I mean, I'm still kind of catching up to it. But I mean, some of that is pretty metafictional, right? With the whole like the stuff that they had censored out, that Bohr was saying isn't really Bohr saying it, and to me, it kind of reads though as if it's Sarah saying it because she's sort of that character who sits a little bit outside the bubble in the sense that like I don't know, Deadpool does.
It's like I don't know. Like I'm gonna kick it. I'm just gonna kick my background right now. In like probably the best like fictional is Dante's Inferno, and in Dante's Inferno, the people in hell know what's going on in the outside world somehow, like, and they can know like sort of events in the future, which was also a way to get like Dante said it in 1300 when he was writing it in 1320s, so he could do some like cool like future kind of stuff, which. So yeah, like people in hell.
But it's not. It's a tonal thing. It's not a how do they know about this, because that's a dreary question that I'd rather drown myself than ask, because I don't care about stuff like that so much. And it's not so much they're exposed, not so much that how much time they spent on Earth, but like if you're on Earth around people, then you kind of in that flow in that space, it kind of feels like it lands better. Whereas when you're just so far outside of that context, that's where it kind of is jarring to me a bit. But of course, in the Divine Comedy, the people in hell were pretty much all literary figures anyway. You know,
no, they're contemporary Italian figures. Like
they were too. There was like there was literary figures. There's a lot of political commentary.
I mean, as you get deeper into hell, it's more like people who are only famous because they're in Inferno. Like the outside, I mean, you got your mythological people, and then you once you get to the bottom, you got Judas, yeah, like the big guns. But like in between, it's all like a contemporary. It'll be like contemporary political commentary.
Oh, it was, yeah, and that's why he got fucking exiled. But I mean, to me, it's just sort of fitting the tone and story, like the tone of the story that to me it feels a little odd, because it's like elsewhere Bennett sticks very, very close to the immediate context of what she's doing. Like in Bombshell, she stays very, very much within the period for how they talk and how they act, which, I mean, you can break out of it and do things where they're talking using modern dialogue and period stuff. You can do that. It can be funny when it's balanced right, like that anime series, Samurai Champloo did an amazing job of it because of how it massaged all that stuff in. So to me, it's a little bit like, whoa, okay, because on Red Sonja, she's like in that mode, right? In Bombshells, she's in that mode, and this one is where things start to loosen up and flow, and so it's like, okay. But no, it's good, and it's a solid issue, and I think what's really cool is how much it sort of reasserts Sarah's agency in kind of like the Stephanie Hans portion.
Oh yeah, that flashback was great. Like,
because
made the
you get this whole thing where it's kind of like, well, yeah, Angela was the vehicle for Sarah breaking out of where she was and being among the I can't remember what you call them, but the male angels anyway.
The
but yeah, that she would have found one way or another, gotten out herself. That she didn't need Angela.
I mean,
which is dope that it resets them as equals, and it goes back to her.
And then you get that great scene, the Hunter Queens, and then you get it's just such a great moment for the relationship.
But it plays a lot into her story with Trungles, for Rosie Press.
Yeah, I need to read that.
Because it kind of has to do about giving and taking and transforming when it comes to love, um, and that kind of thing. So, again, Bennett is building up this whole wide thing, and that's why Beauties is a comic you want to read, because it's one of those ones where you can get into it and you read the subtext of it and you see how much it illuminates the character beats that she talks about in other titles, especially Angela. So if there's kind of the more I don't know what you call it, the denser stuff in Angela that's not coming across to you as cleanly, you read Beauties and you get a really strong sense of her identity as a creator and where she's going those things. Same thing, you read Kate Leth and Ariana Jovelanos' School Spirit one, you really get that. You really get what she's doing in Hellcat, what Leth is doing in Hellcat back there, and what she's doing in Edward Scissorhands and elsewhere. It's a real kind of jumping on point to getting the wider context. But now, Hella is finally in it, so things are going to get hella.
And yeah, and a great fan favorite from Journey into Mystery, the Hellhounds.
Yes, the puppy.
Y'all need to read Journey into Mystery.
The closest I got to Journey into Mystery was that Young Avengers with Loki and his girl. That's the closest I got.
Yeah, I need to reread Young Avengers in context of Journey into Mystery. Like, yeah, Journey into Mystery is like the nearest Marvel's gotten to Vertigo.
Oh, you mean in terms of being like, I don't know, like that floofy sort of Lucifer Sandman type stuff?
No, like a little bit.
Because I think I maybe read a little bit of Gillen's Journey Ministry, but I read, God, who was it that did the Sif stuff? Was it?
I know, Catherine Emmerich.
It was Catherine Eminem who did it. Yeah. No, I read that stuff. That was dope as hell. That was, I think, what came right before his.
After.
After? Okay,
they
so
didn't,
then
they didn't renumber it. They didn't renumber. Marvel was doing a few like new titles, and they didn't renumber it for Journey into Mystery.
Right. That was one of the reasons why hers got turfed. But yeah, no. So I guess I read after it. So there were bits and pieces. I remember like the stuff with Loki being turned into a kid again, and the goats, and that kind of stuff.
The Desire is freaky as hell. Yeah. And they kind of fit in with their like his the whole like owing part of Angela and Angels. So yeah, I'm pretty hyped. I hope this book keeps on going on, and hell is a great place to like just explore. And oh yeah, and there's some cool like stuff with a Balder and a Tyr, some like little family drama in there.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting what she was saying about the stories that they were told about the Aesir when she was in heaven. And she's like, well, I guess what they say about you is true.
Yeah, Boar's a messed up dude. But yeah, like the other like how like with Volstagg was just this like horrible like all these people who are like your kind of fun people you've read in Thor and Journey into Mystery, and like I love Volstagg, he's so great. Gillen wrote him so well in Journey into Mystery.
I like that. I do like the whole thing that the one whole thing that really really works for me about the whole Boar sequence and what they replaced his dialogue with is that it really kind of reminds you of that whole thing, around Thanksgiving, Vice and all those other people get those stories. This is how you deal with your old racist uncle, grandpa, whatever, at family dinners and stuff. And so it kind of really does bring it down to a point where this character who intentionally and for some pretty good reasons is difficult to kind of get on the level with and relate to has some pretty relatable experiences, right? That she has this nasty old grandpa. And so there's going to be people reading and be like, oh yeah, I know what that's like, right?
Yeah, Boar and Odin are just really messed up dudes.
and you kind of get that sense of, of Bennett, being from the South and getting that experience. And I'm putting it pretty subtly in there. It doesn't jump right out at you, but you kind of get that whole sort of vibe out of it, of people who have that stuff in their family tree and have to deal with it at family reunions and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Me coming from, like, my American relatives are all from, Vermont. They're all pretty far left. Even the Republicans are, more the
see, it's like my experience. Like, I have to put filters on or
Yeah.
I'm gonna get in an argument and it's not gonna be good.
Yeah. So you do have like a few boars in your tree. I love how she's like, "Forget our family tree. You can hang from it." That was dope.
Yeah, I'm just like they're just. Well, I'll hear words and I'll just like tune it out like this. Yeah, I mean like it's yeah kind of relatable. Also, just like yeah,
I thought of that when I was reading. I was like, "Man, Logan's gonna vibe with this page." But you had already read it before me, so. But yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's fun how you can find little ways for characters that are so alien from the human experience to relate to.
That's how I relate to Wicked and Divine. Every
Mm.
single one.
Well, that's a little bit closer to Earth than Angela, but yeah, I feel you.
but like stuff like a lot of like the DC books,
Mm.
like this the characters are like gods and it's
I
fun.
relate to Superman through the truth arc more than anybody now. Except now, like toward the end, because he got crazy. But when he was fighting police cops that turned out to be evil,
Oh, yeah, those action comic stories were great. And then yeah, you didn't have to read the other stuff to really get it, I guess. So, yeah, yeah. So we're just gonna like kind of end with. I hope this isn't too like popularity contest, but our GLAAD award. Like, I want to what like. I need to find out if the comics picks are because the TV and movie picks are terrible.
Oh my God, they nominated the Danish girl.
Oh yeah, when I saw that, I'm just like,
I
I
am
like
Kate and transparent, and it's just like, are you kidding me? Like, okay, yes, I know Hari Neff is in Transparent now, but to me, making the
Sensei
argument
got nominated though. That was good. I
did
hope
it okay because I thought it didn't because I missed
it
that.
did.
yo,
It
my
did.
my
Sensei got nominated.
show turn up.
Good because I would have been pissed
Terrence
if
might
that
have.
shit got nominated. But the
Oh, I
thing
mean, Sensei better have.
Yeah, but the thing about Transparent that pisses me off is that it's a big talking point that they want to use Hari as a wedge on it, and it's just like that's like saying that there was another black guy in Tropic Thunder. Like, so what? The bigger role went to the person playing off race or off whatever, and that's what people are focusing on. Because if GLAAD is nominating Transparent and the Danish girl, then they're signing off on cis men playing trans women in movies. Like they're signing off on it. They're validating it. There's no other way to read that nomination. And people will get cranky and argue the opposite and whatever. But no, that's 110% what it's doing. And
Oh, I mean, some stuff did like Dope got nominated.
yeah, I didn't know there was any
Hey,
gay
even
characters in Dope.
better.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
there's
The,
a.
the main female character is lesbian. She's
Sorry,
like,
I knew that. I did. Sorry. Yeah,
it's gonna be on Netflix this month, so I might do a rewatch. Yeah, and
I'll
then
finally watch it. I will.
comedy
Yeah.
series, Master of None got nominated for comedy. I need to see Vicious. It's like Ian McKellen and Derek Jacobi is like old gay couple. I guess. Boo,
Oh
Modern
yeah, I
Family.
forgot about that.
Boo,
Yeah.
faking it.
Well, Modern Family, I mean, they're not great shows, but they're
Yeah,
not bad representation either. You know,
true.
because remember, Laverne Cox was in that season of Faking It as well.
I haven't seen Faking It in a while. It was like a guilty pleasure during a dark time of my life.
Oh, I've never watched it, but there was so much analysis popping up in my face that I couldn't avoid it. You know,
Drama, I would want either Sense8 or Empire because I love Jamal, but probably Sense8
Get
definitely.
out,
yeah.
Logan. Get out. You want Empire to win. Get out.
I've only seen Terrible season 1. I haven't seen like the Terrible season 2, so I don't.
I'm afraid of watching Empire because Eileen Chaikin is involved, and she was like the creator of the L Word, and the L Word had some fun stuff, but then it also had Eileen Chaikin involved, and
I haven't
yeah.
seen any of the episodes of Outstanding Individual Episode because it's all like NCIS crap. Yeah, I've seen documentary, reality program.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I
Don't get me started.
outstanding music artist. I guess
Who's an artist? I didn't know. I didn't even catch that one. What's
Randy
the name?
Carlisle, Miley Cyrus, Adam Lambert.
Oh yeah, I did see that, and I
Where's the
promptly forgot about it. I know that Miley Cyrus is like gender
Hey, where's my girl
paradise.
Halsey?
Good for her. Exactly. You're gonna put Miley Cyrus against over Halsey or like.
Didn't even get nominated. That's a snub right there. Badlands
Yeah.
is a great album.
But there's so many other like smaller like rappers and stuff that like never get shit. I mean like yeah, I don't know, like Mickey Blanco or like whatever. Actually, no, Leaf got nominated, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So I'm not gonna rage too hard. Sorry.
Adam Levin's album
Um,
is pretty solid. He had some
there's a
mostly
couple
yeah,
stuff, but
yeah.
yeah, Miley, nah, because I mean, like, and she's not even in that stage where she's doing stuff that if this is like if she's really about that life, that she's really doing things in her work that's really bringing it out. Like that whole Miley or Dead Pets album, it's her like doing what Wayne Coyne tells her is cool. You know, like there's a reason why it seems so much like a Flaming Lips album. Well, because Wayne Coyne is the mastermind behind it. So I don't
Halsey's
know.
more of her like personal experiences, I guess.
Yeah, you know, at that
I
point.
know. I'm ticked. You know, that's a.
Yeah.
Also, where the heck did Carmilla fit into any of these categories?
There were web series stuff that the Carmilla got snubbed on for sure.
Like,
There was opportunities for
yes.
Carmilla.
Okay, so now we're I'm just scrolling down. I'm on the GLAAD site right now. I
But
know this is like great. We're talking. Okay,
but
comic.
the
I
thing
mean,
is that there's lobbying that goes into this, like anything else does. I mean, my understanding of how this would have to work, I haven't read too much into the selection process, but when it comes to like when they do that TV index thing that they used to do, they shut it down now. They don't count numbers for each network because now they want to be about quality over quantity, which is bullshit when it comes to the Danish girl and that other stuff. But their new philosophy is saying we're not about counting individual instances, we're about promoting quality representation. But even so, when they launched that list, when they had that index, it was based on what the networks reported to them. So, for instance, the producers of American Dad had to say, well, our alien character is bisexual, so we want you to count him on your list. Which is true. He did count in that index, which is another reason why those numbers are troublesome. But do things like that. But let's say, for instance, what if Fox didn't want to participate? What if Fox TV programming was the same kind of garbage that philosophically as you get from Fox News, right? And they said, okay, well, they'll let you have this character, but you can't call them that or whatever. You can like do this shit, but you can't run for these things. Then GLAAD would not count them, even though the character is gay. They wouldn't count it because the network didn't report them as such, right? So this is something to bear in mind, because I would assume that this holds true, that for the comics publishers, they had to declare the characters as being up for nomination, or the stories for being up for nomination based on certain characters.
Marvel likes those GLAAD awards. I mean,
everybody in the comics loves them. So give us the comics nominees with what I just said in mind.
We got Angela, Queen of Hell.
Yeah.
I love all of them. I mean, I love all these. Harley Quinn, Lumberjanes.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna say that Autostraddle was kind of behind that. Midnighter and Wick Div.
Well, I don't think Autostraddle had much to do with that.
Midnighter and Wick Div, yeah.
But
I don't know.
It's like a publisher lobby.
Like Wick Div, I like Wick Div's my favorite comic of the list, but like Midnighter speaks to my own personal experience more.
Yeah, but should Wick Div actually be on there? That's my question. For what this is supposed to be for.
Yeah.
Do you really think that let's even just narrow it down to Image, right? Out of Image, do you think Wick Div has the best portrayal of LGBTQ characters?
Virgil.
Well, Virgil would be one. But notice all these are ongoings, though. All these are ongoings. They didn't have any graphic novels or miniseries here. These are all ongoings, and I think that's kind of what they wanted spotlight here. But do you think that for queer-focused awards, Wick Div is the real trailblazer, the real front runner out of the Image pack?
I mean, what else do we have? Captara, bleh.
Oh, no, but just for representation. Just for representation, not on any other counts, because that's what we're supposed to be looking at.
I'm surprised Airboy's not somewhere in there. I mean, that was Shaft.
They got a different award earlier in the year that I helped set up. Jesus.
Oh my God! What about Odyssey?
Odyssey would be another strong candidate.
I don't know if the people who make these awards understand Odyssey.
But that's the thing is that I think a large part of this has to do with what the publishers lobby for. Image is going to say we want to push Wictive because Wictive is our big hit. It does have this inclusion, does have good solid queer inclusion, but it's their hit that they want to push and say and give to the mainstream and say this is won X, Y, and Z awards. This is our flagship, right? Whereas if you're Eric Stevenson or whoever was involved in what they wanted to put together for their 4-year consideration stuff, when they look at Odyssey, they're like, yeah, this has great gender non-conforming stuff, whatever. But if we hand this over to GLAAD, they're gonna be like, what the fuck is this?
Hey, where's Raven
Right?
Pirate Princess?
Well, that's Action Lab. They probably didn't have the juice to get in there.
No.
Which is the kind of thing that works with this. This is why I'm saying a lot of it has to do with publisher lobbying. Ringside is not far enough in yet.
Yeah.
But Ringside, now that we know that the protagonist is gay or bi or whatever, but we don't know they're full. But the fact is that the two primary viewpoint characters are queer. We know that beyond a shadow of a doubt now.
Rat Queens, maybe.
Rat Queen's 100% because you had the Braga one shot, and you have Hannah, and you have Hannah being bisexual is a pretty new thing, but you have what's her face, the little one. The wee one, yeah. She's the halfling, yeah, and you also have the dwarf with the beard. There's a lot of Rat Queens is really a sleeper one on.
Jim the Hologram should have been on this one.
There was no IDW representation on there, which is interesting.
I'm gonna take because Kimber Stormer, as far as my favorite queer romance of the year.
Yeah,
Kimber Stormer all the way.
And of course, Blaze is still emerging. So as of now, you can't really say much about her. But on the IDW front, obviously, I would say the Infinite Loop is a big missed one there.
Yeah.
But I think I think a lot of it is that IDW does not have the juice to be lobbying for these big awards. To get.
They have all these big licenses.
They have big licenses, yeah, but that's kind of something you pay.
They're about market shares Boom, but Boom's in LA, and
yeah,
they're on the slot.
That's what it kind of seems like to me is that IDW just doesn't seem to have the juice that some of the other publishers do. But
they're trying. They're trying to do a TV. They're doing a TV show for BBC America on a.
Well, yeah, but it's not even so much about that because even Image doesn't. They're completely uninvolved in any of that stuff. They let the creators handle it, but just in terms of having the connections and the ability to get up. But I think to a certain extent you probably are right that the autostraddle blinding white light that they put on Lumberjanes every year does help them to a certain degree because they have the whole team there pulling for it. Effigy, it's wrapped, it's done. So it's not like DC is going to be like, hey, check out this amazing comic that we canceled. But Effigy blows away a lot of the other stuff on that list there for what they did. As far as DC,
yeah, I'm looking at the list right now, and I'm seeing where Carmilla would have even fit.
I think they had a web series category in there.
Actually, they don't.
But Harley Quinn, I think, is a really important one to have in there, and I'm really glad that it won. Because sure, it codified the Harley Quinn Poison Ivy thing, but they're ongoing. They're conversations about polyamory, and Harvey is emerging as an important character in the storyline and kind of what he went through when he was in jail. That they don't back down from anything, and they go into a lot of topics, talk about racism and stuff and gentrification and these things in intelligent ways that engage. With those topics, so it is more than just here's a comic about a queer abuse survivor who's also an anti-hero. That's a cool lead off to get you into what's going on in Harley Quinn from that angle, but it doesn't sum it up at all. There's a lot going on, and the fact that it is kind of an anti-establishment, it's not just sort of trying to assimilate into the wider culture. It's creating a space of your own. Is so important, and that's what's so cool about Orlando and Midnighters doing the same thing. well, it wasn't very clear, but it is clear now, as of the last issue, that they want to create that separate own space.
Yeah, and I mean it's crazy, just single, like not going to marriage like most other male queer romances.
Yeah,
Not
and
named John
same
Constantine.
thing about Harley relative, the whole brouhaha over that one last year, or the year before.
Yeah, I mean these are solid takes. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, Wictive is a good title, and there's a broad range of inclusion, but even if you narrow it just to Image, I think that you could have come out with a more deserving candidate based on what this is about. But, I mean, at the same time, like, Gillen and McKelvey are guys who work tirelessly to broaden the type of representation that they do in their stuff. They've been working hard to include people that work to live outside of their own narrow existence for a long time. Young Avengers, they worked hard with Loki and Prodigy and America. And the quality of how they told those stories. Oh
Yeah, we need Prodigy back ASAP.
I miss that. Me too. I miss him so much.
I'm living through him, so come on, Marvel.
But the disappointing thing is the Marvel thing.
Every night when I go to sleep, I ask if there's a Prodigy out there for me.
I asked Dad about Miss America, so I feel you.
But she's not in your.
There's a multiverse out there. There's a Miss America that's more appropriate for sure. She's out there. But it's too bad about the politics of Marvel though, which is something I want to highlight because I mean, like I said, it should be about Bennett and all that. But the problem is that it is problematized by the fact that Marvel will not own it within the bubble. And it's like I tweeted out this morning, is that the comics industry, I don't know if I want to go so far as to say that they've been making a mockery of GLAAD over the years, but they really have been extremely disingenuous with their engagement with GLAAD over the years. And kind of what they've put up to be nominated and what has won without further examination. I mean, the last time Midnighter won a GLAAD award was for Mark Millar's Authority run. Man. And that's vicious. That's bad. I mean, at the time, like maybe I guess they missed the boat on the original Ellis issues, and even Ellis's Midnighter was no great shakes for a queer character. If we look at 2016, where we are now, he was nothing compared to what we have in Orlando now. But I mean, a large part of Millar's Authority run, hinged on Apollo having been gang raped behind the scenes for a long time. And there were pages that they took out that Wildstorm told Millar and Art Adams they couldn't do that were pretty gratuitously violent towards Apollo. And the thing that never gets talked about in Millar's run at all is, I mean, there is the whole rape stuff in general, and the fact that he drew Iron Man as being this violent serial rapist. I mean, that's kind of sucks. But with Swift, you never talk about the fact that the two dudes were not the only queer characters on that team. And Swift in that run, she was treated abominably. She's being used as a human ashtray and stuff, and she never really got any agency or comeuppance or anything out of it. It just really looked like gratuitous exploitation. And that won a GLAAD award. So, I mean, obviously they wanted to give it a GLAAD award because they thought Midnighter and Apollo were cool as this gay superhero couple. And you can kind of hold your nose and look away from the darker elements of Apollo's characterization and the stuff that happened to him under the Evil League members, but you can't look away from what happened to Swift and the fact that they gave that an award despite what happened to Swift in that arc. It was really ugly.
They gave Young Avengers an award, so I guess, I gotta give them that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they always get it wrong, but I think there's a lack of nuance over the years and a lack of honesty on the part of the comics publishers in terms of what typifies good representation. So, I mean, when GLAAD gives an award to Mark Millar's run, it tells the comic book industry that was good representation, that we should do more of that. That's what it does, and that's one of the things, not the only thing, but one of the things that held shit back as long as it's been. and it's really too bad to see that. And I mean, but you also look at stuff like the Airboy situation where, I was not a part of the talks with GLAAD at all. Somebody else that was part of the action initiated that, and somebody else finished it. But the thing was, you got that apology, and it was delivered wholly outside the bubble, right? GLAAD did it. It did it. There's no follow up in the comics at all. There's no follow up on Image's part, except for quietly taking down the rainbow off the Twitter icon. So I think there was a really missed thing where GLAAD didn't follow up and kind of set next steps for, well, okay, you issued something through us, but how is this going to make an impact in your industry? How is this going to change things in your industry? How are you going to become agents of change and be accountable? There was no accountability. It was like, okay, you've done your bit over here, and that was it. You never heard anything. Stevenson has never said a damn word about it. I don't know if I needed him to, but there was never any acknowledgement of it in the letters page or back matter of the rest of the miniseries. It just disappeared. And so the vast majority of people who were reading the comic, who were just going to comic book stores, or who just kind of don't really follow stuff inside the bubble, had no idea that any of this happened. It's just boom, except for those of us who were in the bubble.
Yeah, we were definitely in the bubble.
And had one foot out in the GLAAD world, you wouldn't know. So the optics of the comics industry between your queer community who are either casually engaged or not engaged in comics at all versus the kind of rank and file in the bubble view is night and day. And it goes beyond GLAAD as well, because you've got stuff like when Marvel ran that huge stuff about Iceman to the Advocate.
Oh yeah.
The Advocate either didn't know or weren't fussed about any of what led up to that. The whole thing about the difficult language being used in Bobby coming out, to the Hercules incident, to the Deadpool incident. They weren't looped into that. They didn't know any of it. They were helping a marketing push for a big new gay character. And so outside the bubble looks like
people reading Extraordinary X-Men they really looked at that yet.
Yeah, so I mean,
I think I heard they might have talked about it this past issue.
But outside the bubble, if you're just reading The Advocate, you're reading GLAAD stuff, you're like, wow, Marvel's a really progressive publisher. They have this comic with this Angela chick nominated for a GLAAD award, and I just read that thing about their gay Iceman a little bit ago. And so that's the image. That's all you would know about Marvel and queer issues right now. And like, oh yeah, didn't they have a dude get married to another dude a little bit ago?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that didn't go anywhere.
Right, but they don't know that.
I know North Star's not in Alpha Flight.
You don't know that if you're Johnny Gay or Susie Lesbian.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like Dave, who all he cared about was X-Men, and he hit me up about the whole Iceman thing. I'm like, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, he thought it was like a huge thing because he's seen him in the movies and whatever. Yeah. Thought he was really cute, Of course he is, but yeah.
But none of the frustration or the anger that's going on inside the bubble is palpable outside, because Marvel, has the mainstream, kind of queer voices stitched up in terms of, here, let's give you this big thing. And they say, okay, great, but they don't have people who are deeply engaged in the stuff and they're looking at this stuff critically because it's such a tiny thing to them.
Yeah, and people don't know Midnighter because he hasn't shown up in a damn movie.
Yeah, and I hope to God he doesn't. But yeah, it's difficult because there's two really radically conflicting views of how the industry deals with these issues. So I mean, it's one thing to say that there's a lot of great work being underexposed. The Infinite Loop isn't on there, Effigy isn't on there, Gem isn't on there, and Gem especially. I mean, come on, because let's actually take a look at this list. How many of the creators nominated are out as a queer themselves?
Well, I mean,
not many. It's pretty much for the most part straight folks writing and drawing queer characters, which again, a lot of them do a great job. I'm a gigantic cheerleader of what Paul Miotti and Connor are doing on Harley Quinn. And so in certain doses, that's cool, that's fine. I mean, again, Greg Rucka, etc. But when you look at this list of nominees, and in terms of
The Lumberjanes.
yeah,
Steve Orlando.
yeah,
Steve Orlando, like Noel Stevens, like the Lumberjanes team.
yeah. But
And like Marguerite Bennett, I mean, kind of.
I guess, I mean, I don't really know how she identifies, but but if you look at the older, wider trend of that, I mean, like Gillen says, he doesn't know what his labels are. That's fair. I'm not going to drag him on it. But the point is, people who are out and pouring themselves into this work.
Gillen said that he might be not.
That's what I said. Gillen says he doesn't know what labels to call himself, and that's fine.
Oh, and his sexuality?
Yeah. Yeah. That's when he was talking about that whole thing about approaching sexuality in Young Avengers versus how they do it in Wictive, and why they're for different audiences. You have to have different approaches. Where you have to be extremely explicit to a Marvel audience because they'll try to roll it back, or you don't know what the next writer's going to do. But in Wictive, you can play with it and be more liminal. But he said that I'm X years old and 42 or however old he is, and I don't even know my labels. That's what he said in that. So, fair. But when you have, especially Gem of the Holograms, with Sophie coming out and pioneering this title with Kelly, and once you add on the Kimber Stormer, and once you add on Blaze, even though she's just coming into focus now, there's a strong thing where you're just kind of like.
Plus, you have the built-in. I mean, like, people have heard of Gem of the Holograms.
Yeah, and that's yeah.
There's a built-in cold audience from the not from the movie cartoon.
Right, but there's also Gem, I'm sure, is big in the gay community, as for the camp and the imagery and that kind of stuff too. I'm sure that there's a huge audience for that, of it being characters that matter. But to me, you run into the same thing: is that are you giving these awards to intellectual properties, or are you giving these awards to creators who are bringing their best experiences or interpretations of these experiences into the foreground? So if you look at it, are they rewarding DC Comics for giving Midnighter a title, or are they rewarding Steve Orlando for being the guy to bring Midnighter into the 21st century and into the fullness of what he can be? Are you awarding DC Comics for outing the best-selling female character in the medium as bisexual right before she launches in a movie? Or are you awarding Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti for being the vehicle for these for these characters, for listening to the people around them that they know, and filtering these stories into an authentic way that plays out in a kind of way that we haven't seen before? It's tough to know. And so that's how you kind of also get the dissonance of how do we handle the Angela nomination?
Yeah.
Is it appropriate is it inappropriate because of Marvel's public relations behavior on queer issues?
Oh, I don't think it should be penalized.
I'm saying some people are, and I don't necessarily disagree with them on this point. But at the other point, should we throw that all aside and look at this as being a validation of Bennett and her team? And I think it's a tough thing but I think we kind of have to pick GLAAD's brain. What exactly are they intending with these nominations? Because again, it goes back to the TV and the movies. Is that obviously rewarding Sense8, because again you've got trans characters played by a trans woman, co-written by a trans woman. Holy crap, that's the trifecta that never happens. Not even Tangerine can say that, because those were cisgender movie makers behind.
And directed, I mean.
Yeah.
And you got like badass gay action hero actor.
But how do you? But my point is how do you balance that against, well, we've also nominated Transparent?
I don't know.
What's the message between those two?
There's probably some crazy politics like with all award shows.
Yeah, but my point is how do they sit on the ballot together? It is politics.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, do they honor the comics people on TV? Because I kind of want to.
Do they air the GLAAD Awards on TV somewhere, like Logo or something?
Yeah.
Is it actually?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that there was even going to be a telecast.
Because I want to, I mean, I don't know, it'd just be cool to see like the people like one of my heroes be on TV. Who I
Yeah,
wouldn't normally see on TV usually.
I think
Sad.
I think it'd be dope to see Connor Palmiotti on TV. I'm sorry, that's who I like because there is going to be one.
Oh, we need to do our picks real quick. You know what? Wicked is my favorite comic right now, but it's gonna have to go with Midnighter.
Yeah, I'm going Harley Quinn the whole way.
Terrence?
I'm gonna be the amazing one and go Wicked and Divine.
All right. Like,
Yeah.
And then when I win, I'm gonna just do the 1, 2, 3 Anake style and just bloop.
man, it would be cool to see Gillen McKelvey just show up on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's a bad win in that category.
Oh yeah. I mean,
at all. But
better win TV.
I think one of the things that Harley Quinn has on its side is that it's the longest running series out of any of those. Like they started that back in 2013.
And the best selling and the most visible.
Well, yeah, and the most visible. Well, yeah, but I mean, I think there's still a strong shot for Lumberjanes or Wigdiv. I wouldn't count either of those two out for the win. Because Wigdiv just has such a presence in the medium, and it just has that cool factor.
Getting a lot of love from the LGBTQ press, though.
Oh, it does, and deservedly so. I mean, I've talked before about Cassandra and how, and Gillen's approach to trans characters, and how much, even though it doesn't speak to the experiences, it doesn't bring it out. It's still
Where the heck was the Rainbow Hub on any of these?
It's gone, homie. We dead.
But
we dead.
Couldn't they what? I mean, because I saw there used to be a best blog category. You could have
well, but again, someone would have to submit, right? Like we would have had to been on their radar or.
That would be so cool. We could show it.
I mean, as far as I know, we're eligible for submission to the Eisners, so.
That would be dope. I'll go to see
that. I still have to explore. I think the deadline is not yet. I haven't looked into that, but I should.
Yeah, cool. This is inside baseball stuff. But yeah, definitely hype for the GLAAD Awards, for the comics category, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's the only category that like I said, it's the only one that I don't have any huge reservations on. But
comedy category isn't bad.
And that's the problem with this is the issue to me again. The final issue I have with Marvel getting a nomination is that them as a company, they're going to look at this, like I said with the Mark Millar thing, is that they're going to look at this and it's going to validate how they've handled Angela up to this point. I mean, obviously we can look at it and say and look at it from the perspective of what it says about the creative team, but what do you think Axel Alonso's reaction would be if Marvel wins this? Is he going to say, man, I was so wrong for talking about it the way that I did in this whole, avoiding labels crap? I'm never going to do that again. No, he's going to twirl his mustache and be like, yo, we pulled one over on them, didn't we? That's how you read that. Because I think there was a CBR thing today. I didn't read it, but I heard something to the effect that they're still not being out with it. As of today when the announcements came up, that they were still towing that same line. And as long as a bigger outside voice can validate their behavior, they're not going to listen to people like me. And so I don't know. Maybe we all need to get into GLAAD. I don't know. Maybe we need to get into organizations like that. Just do it Morrison style. Infiltrate, subvert, destroy. Right. Maybe we need to get in there. I don't know.
Totally. Cool. So one last social media. Sexy Ginger Nerd on Twitter. I'll be geeking out if Midnighter wins.
Alright, now I'm gonna go. You can get at me at Sage Terrence, and you can catch me downloading Rihanna's new album because it came out, and I'm gonna be on this all night, pretty much.
Yeah, who needs sleep before class?
Yes, but I have my 1:30 class tomorrow, so
College life. And then
Um, and last but not least, I'm Emma Houbois, EMMAHOUXBOIS. And remember, if you're gonna come at me with some really dumbass opinions on stuff, that my name does include MMA.
oh my gosh.
oh my, a name
No.
joke, a name funny, incredible.
Oh man, I won't
Okay,
even use that
Dad.
one. Dad, mom, thank you.
Mom,
Jesus.
are mom jokes actually funny?
Oh, okay, I see what you're doing there. All right, fine. You're riding the line. You're cruising on that one.
Yeah.
I thought I'd show you some Holly Holm maneuvers.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
that's right.
She's badass.
Yeah,
Cool.
because
All
she
right,
hits the
Sam.
turf.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, click.